All right. You might think the final week of August would be relatively quiet as traders take their last vacation days before the end of summer. However, there's a huge, potentially market-moving event looming next week. That's NVIDIA earnings. Some analysts are suggesting those results, they may even overshadow Jay Powell's speech today in Jackson Hole. It seems NVIDIA is under pressure every quarter to prove the AI hype is real and justify lofty valuations for big tech. Joining me now is Dan Ives, Managing Director of Equity Research at Wedbush. Dan, a lot riding on this report. You have a new note out. Let's just start with this. I'm just looking at the estimates. These are the estimates. Revenue growth of 112%, EPS growth of 125%. Just astronomical. It's like you're shaking your head, and you're one of the biggest fans of this company. Can this company meet these expectations? Can it even exceed them? Is just meeting them good enough for investors?
Well, meeting them is not good enough, but I believe this is going to be a drop the mic moment for the godfather of AI, Jensen NVIDIA, because all of our checks are showing this is accelerating. And I think the street, like you said, every quarter, prove it. This revolution is just starting, but it all starts with NVIDIA. In my opinion, it is the most important earnings, not just of the year, potentially in many years, because of what this represents in terms of tech.
So I've been asking a lot of people this. Is it the earnings that matter or the guidance? Because the expectations are lofty. Let's say they meet or beat when it comes to revenue and EPS, but the guidance isn't what people are expecting. What does that do to the stock? What do you think it does to the market?
It's all about the guidance. But we just got back from Asia. All of our checks are showing Street is still underestimating this acceleration. Because right now, the only game in town is Jensen. And really, if you look what NVIDIA is doing, especially from chips coming forward, this enterprise demand is just starting. And in my opinion, of course, Powell, Jackson Hole is so important.
Huge, obviously.
But the market, what it's going to do for the rest of the year, and I could argue even in 2025, it starts with this NVIDIA earnings. And I expect, get the popcorn ready. It's going to be a
You said this every quarter, Dan.
No, but this is going to be a showstopper showing where the revolution's going.
Okay.
And I think the skeptics continue to get proven wrong.
What about the questions, the air pocket between different iterations of their chips, some of their customers making their own chips, and the fact that the AI enthusiasm seems to be dying down? You're not concerned about any of that?
Yeah, so it's hit on them. For a delay 2 to 3 months, I view that as sort of an asterisk. In other words, this is not moving the needle in terms of from a demand perspective. When you talk about AI in terms of some of the hype, look what we saw from the hyperscalers. Amazon, Google, Microsoft, what Nadella talked about, what Lisa Su and AMD, the Messi of AI, Palantir in terms of the use cases. It's showing that now the second, third, fourth derivatives are just starting to play out. So when I look at what the godfather of AI, Jensen and NVIDIA are doing, we're talking about transformation. I believe a year from now, this is a $4 trillion market cap along with Apple and Microsoft.
By the way, you changing his last name. It's Jensen NVIDIA. It's not Jensen Huang anymore. You just decided?
Look, this is...
You're making decisions. I want to get back to your note. According to your research, for every dollar spent on NVIDIA chips, it kind of flows through to the rest of the tech sector to $8 to $10. What does that mean for some of these other stocks?
That's the most important thing. Because remember, it's not just about NVIDIA. It's about the multiplier. It's about the revolution, the $1 trillion of CapEx. For every dollar spent on an NVIDIA chip, there's an 8 to 10 multiplier across the rest of tech. That's why it's so important in terms of what NVIDIA says for this bull market to continue.
So you're saying it's a broad tailwind. It's not just it's a rising tide that's going to lift all boats.
Because it's not just
even in software, because software seems to be under pressure, or at least it was when it comes to this AI craze, and it seems like a lot of the money that was going to software has gone to chips.
But even next week, you'll hear from Benioff and Salesforce. What are they focused on? AI. Look at McDermott and ServiceNow. In other words, it's just starting now. The software wave is the second, third derivative. That's why I think we're sitting here a year from now, NASDAQ 20,000, and it continues because now the rest of this party, it is only 9 p.m. in the AI party.
That goes to when?
We believe it goes to 4 a.m.
To 4? Not to sunrise, but it stops at 4.
4 a.m. And look, will there be times music stops and there's glass in the floor? Yeah. But right now, what we hear next week, it shows this party, the music continues to play on.
All right, I know tech is really your wheelhouse, but you look at the broader market as well. We're going to show a chart. This is the Mag 7 and the S&P equal weight since the start of this quarter. The equal weight outperforming the Mag 7. When it comes to that Mag 7 trade, how important are these earnings? We had our data team run the numbers. Implied volatility post-earnings, 10% up or down. What do you think this report does to that mega cap tech trade, that AI trade, et cetera?
they're the torchbearers of this rally that continues. And I think it's just the start. Look what's happened with Apple in terms of the new iPhone launch. The AI story will be led.
So NVIDIA stops the broadening, because that's what we're seeing right now with equal weight. It's the broadening of the market. People are putting their money in other places, especially cyclicals, ahead of a cut. So you're saying that this report could actually change some of those flows?
Oh, I think it does. And I think ultimately tech will lead the market higher from a large cap perspective. We look into year end, and I think Mag 7 actually outperforms. But look, but again, many have been skeptical. The bears in hibernation mode, they've been negative on big tech for the last few years. But when it comes down to numbers and it comes down to this revolution, this is a 1995, almost 1996 moment, but not a 1999 bubble moment.
Dan Ives, always great to have you here.
Great to be here.
New note out this morning. Thank you very much.
X7 hasn't quite performed quite as well. I mean, you pointed that out yesterday.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, next week's going to be big. A bunch of notes on NVIDIA and what's on the line for
That's it. And that's what everybody's very much focused on. I mean, listen, we'll see. Hard to imagine that there's going to be much of a diminution at this point in terms of the demand. Even if they've delayed Blackwell, it just means the H100s and the others that are available are more in demand. So, but yes, it will be an important reflection overall. But the CapEx cycle continues to be incredibly strong. Nobody cut their numbers whatsoever or even spoke in any way towards the idea that they weren't going to spend whatever was necessary.
I know you pay fierce attention to the CapEx guidance that we got in recent weeks.
I do. I'm trying to just understand the entire ecosystem at this point. And, from what I can tell, nothing's giving, so to speak.
Right.
That's it. NVIDIA may hold the fate of the big tech versus rotation trade. Another note calls it the most important tech earnings in years. Now, there are some jitters. NVIDIA shares, they were down yesterday, though, making up for it today. One mega cap name NVIDIA may not be able to help, though, that I just want to point out is Alphabet. The multiple is the lowest of the Mag 7 and the only one that is below 20 times earnings. It's the illegal monopoly ruling, the threat of a breakup, another antitrust trial that kicks off in September. That is all weighing on this name. But I would point out that Google is shipping AI products now quicker than some of the other big players like Apple and OpenAI, like its AI-powered Pixel phones we talked about a few weeks ago. It also brought back Noam Shazir. He is an AI pioneer who left Google to begin Character AI. We now know what he will be doing back at Google. According to a report, he will be the co-technical lead on Gemini, which is at the center of Google's AI ambitions. So NVIDIA, for now, may be the most important tech event in weeks, but there's other catalysts to come soon. Of course, we've got Apple's big September event, and that will be key and could shift the focus to the AI application trade. And, it's been mostly about hardware to this point, but I think once we get past NVIDIA, investors could start looking to the applications and some of the mega caps that are leading there.
All right, I hope you're all having a great day and enjoying this green day in the market. The S&P finished the day up just over 1%, and NVIDIA closed the day up about 4.5%. This is, of course, in light of Fed Chair Jerome Powell's speech this morning at Jackson Hole, in which he made clear that interest rate cuts are on the way. Powell said that the time has come for policy to change, and then other Fed officials helped calm market participants' concerns about the cooling in the labor market. So this sent stocks higher today, and especially small caps. IWM had a great day today, finishing up nearly 3.2%. So we know that rate cuts are coming, and now the question is simply how much will the Fed cut in September and how many rate cuts could we expect later this year? And now the entire market's focus turns to NVIDIA as we prepare for earnings this coming Wednesday, August 28th. We did close the day just slightly above this resistance trend line that we've been battling with the past few days, so that is encouraging to see. And the histogram on the 4-hour time frame may be preparing to turn positive, which is nice to see as well. That being said, as I've mentioned in recent videos, I'm not going to put too much weight behind technical analysis between now and earnings, because at this point, anything could happen. NVIDIA's price action ahead of earnings really comes down to two things: what happens with the rest of the market, and whether or not we see NVIDIA investors take some risk off the table as we head into earnings. Of course, I don't know what the future holds, and I could be completely wrong. With that in mind, I wouldn't be surprised if NVIDIA trades relatively flat between now and earnings, assuming that nothing unexpected happens between now and then. NVIDIA's earnings are going to be crucial, not only for NVIDIA, but also for the rest of megacap tech and for the market as a whole. All of the hyperscalers indicated in their latest earnings reports that they are increasing CapEx spending on AI by billions of dollars. With this in mind, I think it is reasonable to expect that NVIDIA will likely guide higher for future earnings. And then there is the question about a potential delay in NVIDIA's latest chip, Blackwell. If Blackwell is delayed, that does not really concern me regarding the long-term future of NVIDIA, because they could just sell more of their current chips in the interim since demand is so strong right now, and they would likely just guide higher for future quarters in which they expect Blackwell to ship in volume. At least that's how I see it. With all of that being said, I hope you all have a great weekend. I'm curious to hear your thoughts about NVIDIA in the comments below. Please leave a like on this video so more people will see it. And while you're down there, please consider subscribing. It's free, and you can always change your mind. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.